Oh, you want the agenda? Sure. You ready to get going, Chelsea?
Yeah.
Oh, we're recording?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Today's Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Wendy Fock will lead us in the pledges of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We don't have a long agenda today, so starting with item number 3, Adam Toolin is on the line, Purchasing Authority. To hear, consider, and act on authorizing the Purchasing Authority to enter into the proposed contract between the Town of Fairfield and Weston and Sampson of Rocky Hill, Connecticut, to provide all services, labor services, and all else necessary for the Master Flood Prevention, Climate Resilience, and Erosion Plan, as detailed in Town of Fairfield RFP number 2025-13 and Weston and Sampson's RFP submission dated October 3rd, 2024, for a total initial contract of $360,000 with additional authority to enter into necessary change orders in an amount not to exceed the approved funding for this project. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded. Adam, would you like to take this?
Sure thing. Yes, this is Adam Toolin, Director of Purchasing. We put out RFP number 2025-13 earlier back in the fall. And we received 2 responses. We put together a panel to review the responses that I think was a pretty nice representation. We had representation from the Flood and Erosion Control Board, some emergency management people, capital projects people, engineering, to really kind of take a all angles look at what we want to accomplish here. So ultimately, we had a unanimous decision to go with the Weston and Sampson submission. And now we're here today looking for the board's approval to enter into this agreement.
Yeah, I'd like to add a couple things. First of all, I'm glad Bill Hurley just walked in. Bill Hurley worked on the flood and erosion on the Weston and Sampson and race. Bill worked on the RFP, and we got, this came about. Initially, there was ARPA funds allocated towards a wave intensity study. Really coming out of, I guess, the fear of storm surges during hurricanes. Is there anything you can do in the sound to sort of mitigate that? But this then we decided a better approach for the town would be to include not just the coastline, but also the rivers in town for a comprehensive look at where our risk areas are. And the major risk areas were identified and what sort of mitigation actions that we can take as a town. And the 2 bidders were great. They were very different and both very good, but the Weston and Sampson and Race Coastal Engineering combination, brought they brought a lot to the table in terms of both riverine and coastal flooding and a knowledge of the town, and extensive interaction with the Department of Environmental Protection. So what we're expecting to get out of this is a comprehensive look at conceptual next steps, which then, they're not going to be detailed designs for next steps about what to build where, but it'll be conceptual, and then we'll have to, based on our ability and available funding, determine what the next steps would be for detailed design and construction of, or whatever other types of mitigations are recommended. Bill, do you want to add anything?
Sure. The other thing, the master plan was also going to include, as you mentioned, I think you mentioned before, the town has done various studies before from, and so the master plan will put everything together in a format that is hopefully easy to read. And like you mentioned before, the combination of having the coastal and the riverine with the two firms was unanimous with the selection committee, which included some capital planning group, engineering, purchasing, and there's probably somebody else in there.
Yeah, emergency management purchasing, yeah. But and shout out to Becky Bunnell and Dick Mahusky for really being, they're the sort of the grandparents of this. They really pushed us to get this going, and thanks to them, because we really do need to get this going. Yeah.
Just as moving this forward, who will be the, there's references to project management group, who will be overseeing this project on the town side? Will Becky be involved in that? I know that, as you said, that
Yeah, so
group has been very advocating and involved. Do you foresee that the group that the proposals to be the same group that'll be working on it?
I think a lot of the
or just
people,
how it's going to play out?
yeah,
regarding this?
I mean, and we Becky Flood and Erosion Control Board has to have, a consistent, communication with, either directly or indirectly, but mainly through a committee approach, a periodic meeting where we're all comfortable that Weston and Sampson is doing what we expect them to do, and holding them accountable to the RFP and what they promised to do. So I don't know if Bill, you want to add anything to that?
Not really. I think you've covered it. My understanding is, I think Wendy is going to be in charge of the capital planning, in charge of this, but obviously rely on the committee, including, like you mentioned, her finding updates
and yourself for the vast amount of understanding of what's been done in the past and what's been looked at in the past. But Wendy Falk, who's, I don't know if people can see her, she's on the project management team, will be basically following this every step of the way to make sure it gets done properly and timely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Yes.
Now, the optional tasks that are listed, have we already decided that we're going to doing these tasks? I know that the funding request does cover it, or do you view that additional funding as being somewhat discretionary or contingency if you need more meetings? I know there's costs for other things, or don't know yet.
I don't think we know yet. Yeah. So
My guess is it would be discussed at a formal kickoff meeting with the group and discussed there. It's also possible sometimes the town will have a parameter or a benchmark. When they reach to a certain part of the design, if they're doing a satisfactory job, have them continue on. If not, which hopefully won't be the case here, then we don't offer that additional work.
but yeah, we couldn't have the we wanted to do the formal kickoff, but it really wouldn't have been appropriate until after the signing. So today could be, if this is approved, the start of we can arrange to have the formal kickoff in the near future.
Just trying to understand the funding in terms of, the optional, and if there's more meetings that are needed to make sure that we're covered. What town boards do you foresee needing to report out once it's moved forward.
You mean if we need more money or?
Well, yeah, I mean, just.
Right now, I
there's a
don't think that's really,
there's-
it's not
well,
really in the, you know, in our.
It's not, and I guess I just wanna make sure that we waited for this, that the funding that we need just to move this forward and properly communicate it out.
I mean, I think we have the funding that we expect to use, and this is just for the plan. There's gonna be a lot of funding required to implement any plan that comes out of this, so hopefully this will stay within budget, but if, you know, we'll take it as we go. I don't know if Wendy, you wanna add anything to that, or?
No, I think that's right. The kickoff, I've already been in discussion with Becky and Bill on the kickoff and looking at our existing documents. We've done some studies in the town. So we'll be leveraging some of those existing studies and making sure that we have a comprehensive plan. There's also political studies, so that's in addition to the coastal and the riverine, the flooding impact to streets and the sewer system. So it really will be an integrated effort and collaborative. So we'll be working with the HERB, Becky in particular, and engineering. So the first task at hand is just an overview of our existing resources and then kicking off a master plan of school.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
With the Rooster River, you know, we have plans for that. How does the work that is going to be done factor into this plan? Will we be working on the assumption that that work will be completed? Not necessarily looking at the status quo, but some things are in the works right now.
Yes, there's a lot of things that are in the works. We're looking at the comprehensive impact to some of the East Trunk Line work, the Ash Creek / Rooster River work. So we're looking at all of the, I guess you could say 10-year master plan and how it relates to this study as well. So we're not looking at it as just a study, but how it integrates with the rest of the capital plan.
Thank you. Design. Ms. Selectman Kupchak.
Selectwoman Kupchak, do you have anything you'd like to ask or add?
Muted, Brenda.
I apologize. Bill, how does this overlap with the studies that we've already had done over the years? The race studies and all of that? What's different about this than what we already have compiled?
Well, some of it will be compiled into one easy format, so you don't have to look at, 8 different studies. And then in some cases, they're gonna go into a little bit more detail of a particular neighborhood. As I said, Bill mentioned before, there's gonna be conceptual, either conceptual themes or conceptual ideas of maybe doing a dike in one area versus another. The mention of the Rooster River where there's there'd be an extension of maybe phase, like you had mentioned before, phase 2, and any subsequent phases could be incorporated in the master plan. We'll probably throw in some of the circus stuff, about the underpasses. And although it's not as common as the Rooster River, obviously cover Mill River and Sasko River, and as Wendy alluded to, sometimes the street flooding is related to some of these tributaries where, if you get a rain bomb or a major storm, that affects storm system where the water can't get out quick enough, and then all the low-lying areas can get flooded. So we'll look at that, and then hopefully they'll have at least a way of prioritizing certain storm systems, certain areas, and then hopefully, like every other master plan, this hopefully will be a useful tool for the town, but also maybe in obtaining some grants as well.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
And also, Race did some modeling, coastal modeling around Penfield not that long ago, and in their response, I think they will incorporate the things they've already done. They may have to go into more detail and run different scenarios, but they have done some modeling for the town, which is expensive and not, not easy to do. So that will save them some time. Any, yeah.
There's going to be maps posted. This work is done on the website. Just, I'm sure our website is equipped to handle it, but just wanted to make story map and data viewer potentially combined, and then our GIS experience page will be hosted on the town's platform and website. If the town's GIS platform is not available to host these products, additional expenses may be incurred by the project team. Do you foresee any issues with hosting this on our website?
I don't know. I'll talk to Dave Kelly about that. I don't know if these maps are more complex and take up more space than ones that we already have, but we'll have to figure that out when they're available or when they're about to be available.
I would just maybe just check. And
It's possible they could add like a GIS layer or a theme, at least for schematic, to put it on. When you get into the detailed drawings and stuff like that, I'm sure they could have it, or they could post it on a Dropbox or something to have accessibility. I think it was the committee's desire to all the stuff and make it available.
We have means to do that. We can have, drop like a Dropbox type.
Like you said, we'll check with
Okay.
we'll make it, and then for the public, I would believe most of the information will be available. If they want to really get into the details.
Yeah, because I know there's going to be a lot of interest in this, and we're making the investment and doing the work, and just have it be available to the public, and just bringing up now that if there are any changes that do need to be made to the website, that just give IT a little bit of a heads up, so it's not rushing at the last minute. So thank you.
Sure. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Approved. I wish Becky was on, but congratulations. There she is. Congratulations, Becky. Thank you for spearheading this effort. Item number 4, Adam Tulin, Mega Jane, or are you taking this bill, or is Mega?
Well, we're gonna start with Adams,
Okay.
contract, and then any questions I can take. As Mega is a little, she's not feeling well, so.
Oh, it's going around. Yeah. Purchasing authority, to hear, consider, and act on authorizing the purchasing authority to enter into the proposed contract between the town of Fairfield and Barton and Luitas LLC of Glastonbury, Connecticut, to provide design and surveying services for phase 1 of the improved access to McKinley Elementary School per town of Fairfield RFP 2025-30R, and is detailed in their proposal dated December 20th, 2024, for an initial contract value not to exceed $159,470, with additional authority to enter into necessary change orders in an amount not to exceed the approved funding for this project. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded. Adam, do you want to take this? Adam Tulin, you are on mute. Adam. You can't unmute. Is he in the building? Isn't he across the way?
I'll give it my the best here. Purchasing has reviewed the contract. He was going to recommend, Adam was going to recommend that it's approved. It involves the survey or the base for the base project for our connectivity grant. It would include a basic survey trying to determine the right of way. It would also determine, land features, terrain, topography, so that they can then make traffic analysis and concepts, which will then determine like which side of the street the sidewalk would go on and stuff like that. This covers the base. We did have a proposal for them where they have submitted, if we get the second grant, the TAP grant, the Transportation Alternatives Program grant, where they would basically do the neighborhood, which defines Naps to Old Stratfield and the streets in between. This base one for the connectivity project would include Pope, Lenox, Cardinal, and a section of Naps.
And they indicate how long they expect it to take?
I'm not familiar with that. My guess is surveying and certainly the conceptual design, we're probably figuring about 6 months.
So we can, because there's a lot of interest in communication on this, so we can send out the communication to the neighbors, and let them know this contract's been awarded and approved, and if it does pass, and then that it might, we expect, the length of time we expect it to take. Okay.
I'm available now, if I could just speak quickly. So, just to touch on the contract. So we initially put out RFP 2025-30 back in the fall, and actually received no responses. So that was a little disappointing. So we took a new approach where we went to the state DOT pre-qualified list of architects and engineers, and actually reached out to a handful of companies on that list to discuss the project and see if they were interested, so that we didn't, waste anyone's time again. And then we reissued it as 2025-30R, which the R just signifies rebid. And we sent it to 5 companies on the DOT pre-qual list. Ultimately got 2 responses. And then, we're looking to move ahead with Barton and LeJudas, I believe is how you pronounce it.
LeJudas.
So we're here to get approval for that contract.
And you might be able to do this. If it's the same as.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for that color. Any comments or questions?
Really, I think just keeping the neighborhood. I know there's been watching this very closely. There's been mixed feelings about it.
Is this about the sidewalks or is this something else?
This is the sidewalks.
Oh, okay.
So we needed a survey to determine where the sidewalks should go, and that'll take about 6 months. Bill thinks, but we have nothing. We can't really report anything. Some people along those streets don't want sidewalks because for various reasons, not keen to maintain them, not keen to relocate a fence. But we don't know where the recommended path is right now, so we can't really have those conversations with anyone yet.
We did find in the proposal the anticipated schedule. The survey would take 3 months. The traffic data could be done concurrently. Preliminary design plans, they're expecting to be completed around May 2025. And then bidding phases would be in the fall. So
okay, so maybe five months. We're at the end of January.
Six to about 7 or 6 or 7.
Summertime.
Okay. Okay, great.
And then they'd start, if everything went well, they could start construction probably in the winter or early spring of 2026.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you, Adam.
I'll be sure to let Megan know as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Item number 5, emergency management. David Becker is here to consider and act on approving a grant agreement between the town of Fairfield and the state of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection for costs related to supporting all hazards emergency management mission areas. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Becker.
So this is an annual grant the town has received for the better part of the last decades. And this is more one of the cleanup items in the approval or the body based upon entering into an agreement over a certain dollar amount and length of time. But otherwise, it's something the town, it's a predetermined population-driven number. There's a minimum amount that smaller towns receive, larger towns receive based on population, and it's already accounted for in our budget. More procedural, but it's certainly always welcome dollars. It's a pass-through, so it starts at the Fed level and administered by the state of Connecticut. They have many grants at the regional, local, and then within their own funding. Same thing through this and some related programs. Sign and accept it.
Great. Any questions or comments from the board? Probably looks familiar to many of us. Seeing none, any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor say aye. Thanks, David. Motion is approved. So item number 6, Adam Toolin, and again, Bill Hurley's here. Consider an act on authorizing the purchasing authority to enter into the proposed contract between the town of Fairfield and Race Coastal Engineering, Stratford, Connecticut, to provide additional engineering services related to the stormwater drainage improvements for the Lake Mohegan parking lot and downstream portions of the Morehouse Highway drainage system. This project is an extension of services related to the approved contract for RFP 2022-109 Design Services, Lake Mohegan. The proposed extension of services is detailed in the Race Coastal Engineering proposal dated October 9th, 2024 for a contract value not to exceed $127,400 with additional authority to enter into necessary change orders in an amount not to exceed the approved funding for this project. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Adam, would you like to start?
Yes, I'll start. So yeah, that was sort of a mouthful, but everything is kind of there in the resolution. Basically, we have a previously approved agreement off of an RFP from 2022, where we now have some additional services, basically a new agreement under an already approved project. So we just, from a procurement standpoint, we're good, but because we have a new agreement that needs to be signed for these additional services, we're bringing it before you to get approval.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Bill?
Yeah, just real quickly, as Adam mentioned, that this is an extension of services where we're going to now do, say that they have preliminary design, so now we're going into, just like I mentioned before about a benchmark, where now we're going to give them the semifinal and the full design. It will include drainage improvements at the Lake Mohegan parking lot and for Morehouse Highway. The additional services would be obviously the additional designs, and they'll also be doing some environmental and boring testings and geotechnical investigations. That's all.
Any questions from the board?
In terms of permitting, Army Corps of Engineers, just given similar to what we're facing with the Brewster River, or do you expect it to be approval for this to be quicker?
I will double check with the consultant, but my understanding is before we get to the bridge, we'll be tying into the existing pipes that are there. And so therefore, if we do that, we don't need any approvals. If we do, most likely it would be inland wetland and just the DEP. I don't think the Army Corps, because it's not it's not a detention system. This is more of a stormwater to get rid of the flooding that occurred during Storm Ida and maybe even in 2018. Ran it off the parking lot and rode it to the beach.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Bill. Motion approved. Yeah, I think you're good. Thanks, Bill. Take care. Good night. Item number 7, Water Pollution Control Authority. Michelle Gore's on the line. To hear, consider an act on approving an agreement for legal services between the town of Fairfield and the Fairfield Water Pollution Control Authority as clients and Silver, Golub, and Title LLP. May I have a motion?
Second.
Michelle, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, and I'd like to, because this agenda item and the next are related, I'd like to give the board just a very brief background on what this topic is about. So PFAS, perfluoroalkyl substances. This is an emerging contaminant of concern as identified by the US EPA, as well as the state of Connecticut Department of Public Health and DEP. PFAS is a group of 7,000 known chemicals. These chemicals are used in day-to-day domestically used commercial products that offer oil, water, stain, and heat resistant properties. So you could think of anything from Teflon pans to Gore-Tex type materials, to firefighting foams, and even dental floss. So this has been ubiquitous throughout our usage, just commercially day to day and throughout the environment. Studies have been performed showing that PFAS does have bioaccumulative properties, meaning that it accumulates within the human body and the environment. And it's known to have carcinogenic effects, as well as cause birth defects and adverse brain and kidney functionality in humans. So again, PFAS, it's present throughout the environment, but it's also known to be present in sewerage systems. We do know in town of Fairfield at the WPCF, we performed testing. It is present in our treatment system and collection system. Again, it's part of domestic day-to-day use of commercial products over years and years. So this is just a background to set the stage for this representation agreement. So I'm seeking the board's approval to enter into this agreement with the Stanford-based law office of Silver, Golub, and Titel to file suit against corporations responsible for PFAS entering our WPCF and its collection system. These corporations include, but are not limited to 3M, DuPont, Chemours, Tyco, Kidd. This case filed locally is expected to transfer to a multi-jurisdictional action that's active and currently pending in the state of South Carolina. The award could potentially be significant for Fairfield WPCA. The money would be used to retrofit our WPCF to prevent and treat for PFAS in order to meet future known forthcoming compliance requirements. We know that compliance requirements will be coming not only locally, some requirements are already here locally in Connecticut, but also federally as well when it comes to maintaining the quality of our WPCFs discharge to Long Island Sound, and the quality of the biosolids, the sewage sludge that our facility produces as a result of treatment of our domestic wastewater.
That was really helpful. And yeah, it was kind of a preview of the next section of number 8, which we will still have some more to talk about on number 8, right, for the pilot program. But any questions from the board?
So, thank you. My understanding is that PFAS is something that's even in pavement. So when we were cleaning up all the fill pile sites throughout the town, you know, that was coming up, and a lot of that was attributed to just the pavement along, you know, the soil along paved roads. So how does that work, like with the companies, and then the fact that paved roads also cause this chemical to be in our soil? So how does that work?
Sure, I'm happy to answer the question to the best of my knowledge. So I'm here to present today on behalf of the effect of PFAS in the water environment. But I have knowledge from my work at state DEP. Again, PFAS is ubiquitous throughout our environment, just as a result of it being commercially used. Pavement is an aggregate. It's many different types of materials being combined with petroleum type products. And PFAS, again, it's everywhere. So it is present in all of the ingredients that would go into pavement. It would also be present, again, in any type of waterproofing type material that's being applied to vehicles, for example. It's being washed onto the roadways. It's entering into the soils. Again, it's even in the rain. So PFAS is emitted as part of like, for example, industrial practices that involve incineration and discharges of plumes to the atmosphere. So again, it is ubiquitous throughout the environment. So it is indeed present in the soil. It's present in pavement. It's present in our bodies at all different levels.
So
May I just
my question would be, listen, I'm all for trying to collect some money if we could, but I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I don't understand how we can sue for companies if we ourselves are participating by putting paving down that's contributing to this PFAS. That's where I'm having trouble.
Sure.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Yep. So the filing is specifically aimed towards the points of origination of this suite of chemicals. We are not the point of origination of this suite of chemicals. Yes, we are users of commercial products that contain this suite of chemicals. But again, we're not the producers, we're not the point of origin. And the lawsuit is specifically aimed at, again, the originators.
So would this require us to change how we pave our roads or any other products that the town of Fairfield uses that contain these chemicals?
Again, I'm here to represent the WPCA specifically, and not Department of Public Works.
No, I mean, just as maybe Bill,
Yeah, but the state of Connecticut does have legislation that was passed, and I will get to that in the second agenda item today, just as a briefing to this board. The state of Connecticut has passed a public act last legislative session that limits commercial products used in state that contain PFAS. And so over time, the state, like many other states, is looking to prohibit the use of commercial products that contain any level of these chemical substances.
okay, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Yeah, and I just want to add something and make clear that what we're doing here is joining up to, you know, a lawsuit that is the impact on our WPCA only. And the ramifications of legislation that's coming down or has already been passed and it's coming down the pike, that would force us to make large investments in WPCF and or any other investments or damages that we may be able to recover some of those costs. But then, PFAS is in so many places. It's on the shelves, and the products on the shelves of supermarkets. This is only a small piece of the PFAS legal actions that are taking place and will take place. And there will probably be many on the health side if they're, Michelle, I'm not aware of the numbers, but I imagine this is just a small percentage of the type of legal action that's going on, but it's specific to our WPCA and the investments and costs that we're going to incur because of PFAS.
That understanding is correct, Bill. There are a number of cases where litigation claims have been filed in regards to the usage of PFAS in different products. I think another one that Connecticut has really taken on is the PFAS in AFFF foam in firefighting gear, and the health the health impacts that has had on firefighters. I know City of Stamford has been a leader when it comes to that particular litigation.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out as well. Yeah. Any questions?
Talked about this at WPCA.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions or comments, Brenda?
No, thank you.
Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, that's great. It's good news. So the next item is item number 8. Again, Michelle Gore from the Water Pollution Control Authority to hear an update on recent federal and state publications regarding PFAS, the potential ramifications for Fairfield Solid Waste Sludge Management Program, and a potential pilot program. So Michelle covered, much of this, but Michelle, if there's anything you'd like to add on any points not covered?
Sure, and I just.
I'm sorry. Oh no, this we don't need a vote. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
This is just purely an update. I was
right.
to give. I'm happy to give the update. And so, as I mentioned in the previous agenda item, the PFAS is known to be present at our WPCF in our biosolids, which includes our composted sewage sludge. Since 1989, our WPCF has been a leader in beneficially using our sewage sludge through the composting process. We're able to use what would otherwise be a waste material as a soil amendment. And that material has been applied successfully within the state of Connecticut and also neighboring states, primarily the state of New York. The last legislative session here in Connecticut, a bill was raised and a public act based on the bill was issued. It's Public Act 24-59, which prohibits the land application of WPCF biosolids that contain any level of PFAS. This is really detrimental to our WPCF's operations because we generate on average 5,000 tons per year of sewage sludge that needs to be managed. That is extremely not only a costly endeavor for us to take on. So at this point, up until this, I should back up and say this legislation became effective October 1st of this past year. Since October, our WPCF has been storing our composted sewage sludge at the site across the street from our facility that's operated on behalf of the town by Denali We Care. So Denali We Care has been marketing our compost And at this point, they have ceased marketing, again, as of October. And we've just been storing the material. The storage capacity is starting to max out. We will not have storage capacity available to us past March of this year. WPCF is aggressively seeking alternatives to managing its sludge. We're looking at disposal options at this point in time. We're benchmarking off of other similar WPCFs, so WPCFs in Connecticut that generate similar quantities of material as we do. Town of Greenwich is very similar, and they are paying to and have been paying to have their material shipped, transported just in-state to the Metropolitan District Commission in Hartford, which runs incineration process, and having the sludge incinerated. That's at a cost of upwards of $900,000 per year. This is not a cost that WPCA's current or historic operating budget has incurred. And that combined with our capital improvements that we have planned brings additional level of not only expenditure, but also complexity as we move forward through our capital planning and long-term financial planning. When it comes to disposal options, we could look at incineration. Incineration, not only within the state of Connecticut, but across New England, is limited. So basically, if you haven't already carved out your spot in the incineration industry, there is not really going to be a spot for you to bring your sludge. We're looking at landfilling options. Landfilling's not an option here in Connecticut because we have very, very few active landfills in state. We have a solid waste management crisis in Connecticut, and we've had such for many years now. So we'd be looking to landfill out of state. John Bodie and I are talking with haulers, and they're looking at landfilling options within Pennsylvania. Again, that comes with the transportation cost. We are providing our analytical data to these transporters, haulers, to share with their network of disposal facilities to see if they're going to be able to take our material. Again, it's going to be at an expenditure that WPCA has not planned for. And we're still working on getting cost estimates for these potential disposal options. In addition, the current legislative session that the state of Connecticut has just embarked on, a bill has already been proposed, Bill 833, that is looking to further limit biosolids containing PFAS for use within Connecticut. WPCA has been seeking technical guidance and interpretation of the existing public act from state of Connecticut DEP. We've also been reaching out to our regional biosolids management representatives at EPA Region 1 and professional organizations such as the New England Interstate Water Pollution Control Commission, the Northeast Biosolids and Residuals Association, and others, in looking to gain support and technical guidance as to what options might be available for us now and into the future in managing our sludge. We are also talking, John Bodie and I are also talking with the representative and vendor for our existing composting equipment, BDP Industries, on piloting a process that would dry our sewage sludge, and we'd be able to utilize our existing composting equipment to perform that drying process. It's called bio drying. Again, this would just be a pilot. This process has been piloted on a limited basis within the past 10 years. And there's questions when it comes to running this process. So this would not be the ultimate solution for us managing our material, but it could assist us in making important decisions. We have received a proposal from BDP. John and I are reviewing it with WPCA's on-call engineering consultant. I've also shared that proposal with Phil Piers to ensure the legal aspect is shored up on this proposal. But again, this would help us reduce the volume of the material that we're generating because it's drying it. It would also work to increase the solids content of the material, which could ultimately potentially open up additional disposal outlets. So landfills in general don't want to take wet waste. The material that in our raw sewage sludge right now, it has a pretty high water content to it. It's higher than what landfills would typically find acceptable. So I'm just bringing that up, that's an additional challenge that we're working through currently.
So Michelle,
Yes.
so the current regulations, I mean, there's no way to eliminate PFAS from stormwater runoff, right? So the stormwater runoff, which is going in the sound, you know, has PFAS in it, and that's not part of this discussion, right?
It's not, and that has, and it's a great question, and that's not something that has been discussed for regulation federally or locally at this point in time. The focus has been on wastewater discharge quality, not stormwater discharge quality when it comes to PFAS, and it's been biosolids, so our sewage sludge.
So the, you know, in the drying process, the water that comes out of that will have PFAS in it, will that just enter the stormwater system, or do you know?
And so we'll be drying it. And my understanding of the drying process is we'll be generating some type of air emission as a result of the process. So again, PFAS is ubiquitous. It affects air, water, waste, right? And so in the future, there's going to be regulation in each one of those media. Right now, the focus is on the biosolids, so the waste side and the water quality side.
So I think it's important for the public to know that I used to think we were one of 2 towns that composted our sludge, but I just found out that if there was another town, they don't do it anymore. We're the only town in Connecticut.
Oh, so Stanford does, I guess we could call it a composting operation, but what they really do is they dry their sewage sludge. It's a drying process that they undertake. And then that dried material, it's almost pelletized. They end up land applying it, not in Connecticut. They land apply it in the state of New York. Again, New York had been one of our outlets for land application, but we have a concentration of PFAS in our material that's higher than New York State's threshold. So New York has legislation in place, sort of similar to Connecticut, regulating the land application of biosolids, but instead of their legislation indicating thou shalt not apply any PFAS to land, they actually identify certain thresholds.
So if Connecticut had thresholds and we had the technology to dry it, it's possible we could land apply it in the future.
And I don't think that any of us could really predict on that, but I mean, anything's fair game, I think, at this point. And it's something that I would look to tee up in discussions with state of Connecticut Deep.
Right. And we're talking to our state delegation about this as well.
Correct, right.
It's a lot to
So again, yeah, so I
laying a lot on us.
I just wanted to give a brief summary of where WPCA is at in ensuring its compliance with the state's legislation, but also informing the town offices and the public moving forward, that this is going to come at an additional cost, and the cost is significant.
Well, I have to say that I am, as bad as this is, the fact that you came forward, like you're attacking this from every angle, and that you're being, completely forthright about it. We're being forthright to the public. This is a problem. We're not going to shy away from it. We're not going to try to, kick it down the road. We have to deal with this. So, yeah. And you were on top of this, like the week that some of the legislation came out, and even earlier than that, some of the discussions I was hearing from you, this could be a problem, which was only a couple of months ago. So you've been really, really, forward on this from the very beginning, and that is just the way government should work. And I'm really happy about that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Any further information I could provide to the board, please let me know.
Thank you. It's a little depressing.
It's depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And I think that it's just so much of it is out of our control in terms of.
Yeah, it's not like we didn't know that this was happening over the last 10 years, but yeah. Like,
and we're not alone, and so the state
EPA, everyone knew at the EPA this was going to be a problem, and finally they're dealing with it.
Yep. So there's other WPCFs and WPCAs for sure who are in a similar situation as us, except we are unique when it comes to Connecticut.
Okay. Well, there's nothing to vote on, so but just thank you very much for your very coherent and cogent update. Yeah. Item number 9, refunds. To consider and act upon tax refunds is recommended by the tax collector in the amount of $5,171.79. May I have a motion?
Second.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none. Any comments from the public? Any comments, Tom? There is no public. I see Liz hasn't. But seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 10. Consider and act upon the minutes of December 4th, 2024, December 18th, 2024, and January 8th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Can I
Would you like to break?
Ask that we amend to separate them, because I did miss one of these meetings?
Okay, actually, we can just separate them, right? Yeah. So to consider and act upon the minutes of December 4th, 2024, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Any questions or comments from the board?
This is for 12-4, correct?
12-4, yeah.
Yes.
Seeing none, any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next, to consider and act upon the minutes of December 18th, 2024. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the public? I mean, from the board? Seeing none. Any from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
I'll abstain because I missed that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next, to consider and act upon the minutes of January 8th, 2025. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none. From the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 11, First Selectmen, to hear updates from the First Selectmen. The first thing, just real briefly, was the Superior Court case for United Illuminating Monopoles last Monday, January 13th. Some of us were in New Britain, joined by Fairfield and Southport residents for the hearing for the town of Connecticut versus the town of Fairfield versus the Connecticut Siting Council et al., which was held in New Britain Superior Court. It was an all-day hearing and led by Cohen and Wolf, our town attorneys, and they just did a remarkable job, very clear, laying out of the cases, the facts of the case. The judge asked a lot of very, very good questions, indicated that he was really paying attention, that he had done his homework. And we believe we have a very, very good case, which essentially is that the facility that United Illuminating put forward for approval was the line to the south of the train tracks, and that the law doesn't allow the siting council to then give approval for a different facility, which would be on the north side of the tracks. And that's it in a nutshell. And I thought they argued that very well, very clearly, and it seemed to be well understood by the judge. And I forget how long it's been, but just a couple of weeks ago. So we would expect to hear within 120 days from January 13th. And it could be shorter. So if we win, or if UI wins, this is likely to go to the Connecticut Supreme Court either way. So even if we win this case, it will likely still be going to the Connecticut Supreme Court. We would expect UI to appeal. Anyone have any questions about this? Okay. Next, Southport Harbor dredging. This was fantastic. A lot of work by a lot of people, in particular, people involved with the Harbor Management Commission, like Kim Taylor, Brian Leclerc, our harbor master, Jeff Stedman, who's the Harbor Management Commission advisor. Just a ton of work over the last couple of years trying to get the Army Corps of Engineers here to widen the harbor mouth from 50 feet to what it should be, which is 100 feet. Currently at 5 feet depth at low tide. It's supposed to be 9 feet. And a lot of work, legal work went into ensuring that the equipment could get across various properties, and also had to move some endangered species of plants out of harm's way. And the members of the Harbor Commission worked with Army Corps of Engineers environmental specialists to actually do that relocation. And there's pictures of that that you can see online. There was also piping plovers. The birds were there, but they had moved on, and so that all these things came together, and we were able to start this project. And it's really, I recommend that people go check it out because it's very cool. Last thing I want to mention is the Charter Revision Commission, and they're asking me to remind you all to send your ideas or any changes you'd like to see in the town charter to them. You could go to meetings and provide your comment then, or you could really more efficient would be to just send them an email so they can log that. Any announcements? Item 12, announcements. Anything anyone wants to announce?
It's been announced, but the One Book, One Town, Beauty Land, I know that you were up and representing us for the UI hearing. So if you haven't already gotten it,
Left.
I don't know. I don't know. I checked, there wasn't when I went, so I ended up purchasing it. But it's cold outside. Really, it's really
Light a fire and read the book. Yeah.
Great, whether to light a fire, get a blanket, and read a book.
Yeah.
Along with your neighbors. And stay warm, everybody. And thank you to DPW over this last week, handling the snow, the rain, the ice. And I was out of town. It was very nice coming home to clear roads.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, DPW was out at 3, 4 in the morning the other day, clearing the roads. I think they did a great job. So, any other announcements?
Maybe we could have just a moment of silence for our DPW worker who passed away recently.
Thank you. That's. Okay, well, thank you. Item 13 is to adjourn. Oh, I can't see that.
Charter revision meets tonight at 7.
Oh, the charter revision mission meets tonight at 7 o'clock for anyone interested in tuning in remotely or coming in person. Thank you, Chelsea. Item number 13, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, Brandon.
Okay, have a good night.
You too.